Morning, everybody. I'm Mitch Davis, CEO of Live Gamer, and welcome to VCON. I know this is an ungodly hour of the morning to be starting at GDC. It somehow feels like we should be starting everything at GDC around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Today is going to be a fantastic day. I'm really excited about the group of folks that we've got coming in. We've got some of the leaders in the industry in terms of free-to-play games, MMOs, social networks, and hardcore gaming. And some of the folks that really have been driving this model in a very innovative way over the last 5 or 6 years. And it really, I think, today has surpassed most people's expectations in terms of how large the microtransaction-driven gaming space is, not only in Asia, but also in North America and across Europe. One of the interesting stats around this market is that Inside Networks talked about the size of the market in 2010 in North America at over $1.6 billion. And we know from most of the analysts in the space, and you'll hear from Atul Bhargava today from Think Equity, that the market for virtual goods last year was in the order of $4 billion, and a market that's growing at something like 40% compound. So we've seen a lot of changes in the space in the last few years, and today it really is a very important part of not only gaming but also social networks. And it's a market that clearly isn't going to go anywhere but up over the next few years. And one of the key things that we've noticed is that the market is at a very interesting inflection point. If you looked a couple of years ago, you would see that a lot of people were focused on two things: what kind of virtual goods inventory and also distribution. But today, and particularly as you listen to our keynotes today and as you go through some of the panel sessions, you'll notice that it's a much more sophisticated business that is driven by some very core and very sophisticated technologies. It's not just about inventory strategy, but it's about merchandising, it's about data mining, it's about learning how to balance your economy, how to manage multiple different virtual currencies, and it's about really understanding not only market segments but users and what users are looking for out of gaming. And so we're very fortunate to have an excellent group of speakers today that really understand what are some of the best practices that are happening at a very practical level, not only here in the States, but again on a global basis. And so we're excited about those panels. And listen, I've been coming to GDC since 2003 or thereabouts. I've always liked GDC because it's such a technical focus. Right? Next door, someone's talking about physics and gaming. That's the kind of approach that we, in one sense, want to have today, that we want to focus on the technical aspects of game design, but it's a complex technology. In other words, it's not just about things like game engines. Free-to-play microtransaction-driven games or microtransactions in any category of game involve technologies that include things like databases, database analysis, recommendation engines, merchandising, also currency management and wallets and so forth. So there is a complex set of technologies that reflect the status of the market and how sophisticated it is. And so when we think about some of the folks that are speaking here today, and I'm looking at Dave Perry's presentation, I'm going to get out of the way in a moment because he's going to show some stuff that I think is going to be fantastic. We've got great people. So Dave's going to, I think, show some stuff that he hasn't shown before, which I'm excited certainly to have a look at today. And I've always been a big fan of Dave's. Some of his games over the years, like Earthworm and even Enter the Matrix, are just games that were personal favourites of mine. So Dave's going to be speaking. We've also got John Smedley, and Smed has been in MMOGs since MMOGs were invented. And Smed is, I'm a big fan of Smed's. I mean, he's done great work at Sony Online Entertainment. Obviously famous for EverQuest 1, 2, other properties they have had. But last week was a big milestone for those guys. They announced over 9 million registered users for Free Realms, which is significant scale. And Smed is going to talk this afternoon after lunch in his keynote about some of the complex issues about microtransaction-driven gaming. Also today we have Nanea Reeves from EA. And Nanea I've known for years. She came through Jamdat. She did a great job at Jamdat, and she's built a very, very strong business at EA with their online platform. And she's one of the smartest, most technical people in the business, and I have enormous respect for her, so I'm really looking forward to her closing session today at the end of the day. But in amongst that, we're also going to hear some other interesting sessions as well. So David Cole from DFC. DFC is one of the preeminent research companies in the space. David's just completed a very large-scale, robust study on online gaming microtransactions and what users are looking for. And there's some really interesting and compelling insights in that presentation, which I'm looking forward to seeing myself this afternoon. But we've also got a series of panels, and in those panels are some of the folks that, as I mentioned before, have really driven best practices in the space. Kai Hung's here in the front row. Kai, along with his brother Charles, developed the biggest franchise in consoles, Guitar Hero, which I've spent altogether far too much time playing. And they've done a lot of online business. So I'm really excited to hear what Kai's got to say. Brandon Berger's going to be here from Riot. Has anybody played League of Legends? I'm very impressed because it's an incredibly difficult game to play. But if you know the success that those guys have had in a very short period of time, and I knew Brandon when he was running around with a PowerPoint trying to figure out how we could get that thing funded, and they've just done spectacularly well. So Brandon's going to be here, and we've got a ton of other folks as well that are real innovators in the space. Dennis Fong from Raptor's here. You'll know Dennis from, as the guy that started Xfire and now running Raptor, which is, I think, an exceptional product. But Dennis is one of those hardcore gaming guys. He has a great, he was an extraordinary professional gamer for years and has become a great entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur in the game space. So that's going to be fun to see as well. So I think it's a very robust day. We're going to be focusing on a lot of very practical, technical issues and around gaming. Things like how to merchandise, how to do data mining, how to balance your economy, dealing with virtual currencies, what's working on a best practices level in the space. And so without getting between yourself and Dave too much longer, from a live gamer perspective, our goal really is to, and has been for years now, and we were actually in the microtransaction space back in 2001 in Asia. Our goal was always to try and help publishers improve their business model in and around microtransaction-driven games. I'm happy to say that we're powering over 130 games internationally today in nearly 24 countries, and the market is still growing at a country-by-country level. Our ARPU across our network last year was about $28, and it's increasing, even in mature markets. Our experience in Korea, for example, which is probably the most mature market, is that ARPU has increased over the last 4 years from $11 to $15. And likewise, on a global basis, every major geographic territory has seen ARPU increase. So in the US, we're running at 24 across our network, high of 60 in Japan, and nearly $4 in South America as well. So not only are more users coming into the microtransaction-driven gaming category, but they're spending more. And that, I think, is a reflection of the kind of smart thinking that you'll hear from the folks today. So please join me in welcoming Dave Perry to the stage. I think this is going to be an absolutely fantastic keynote. Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch.